It wasn't the first time Naruto had ever gotten angry, but something about the way the bitch had defiled his parents' names had rubbed him wrong. Then the emotum had to open his oh-so-holy mouth to add fuel to the fire. The fact that their sensei at least didn't seem to care that the arrogant prick got knocked on his ass, which was a plus to the short but still their reason not to hate list for the man, was pleasing, but he was still a little angry. When he left the house he really had no destination in mind and soon found himself in a clearing quite a distance from the village. Not really having anything else to keep himself occupied with, he decided to test his new sword. He planned out a few exercises in batches of 1,000. The first exercise was drawing the blade. In the middle of a fight, this simple action could save Sumion's life. If you were not used to how quickly you could draw your own blade, then you would have no idea how far you would need to plan ahead to block anything with said sword. Creating about 20 clones, each began the first exercise as a group. The sliding of the blades out of their sheaths was heard throughout the dark surroundings as he went through the motions. By the time he was finished he knew that the drawing of the katana was slower than the ninjutsu he was so used to by almost double because of the positioning of the scabbard and the length of the sword. Given that his drawing speed was still extremely fast with his ninjutsu, his speed with the katana was still rather fast. Next on his list was swings. He went through each main direction. Both shoulders to the opposite waist, both waists to the opposite shoulder, head to stomach, stomach to head, and a straight thrust from both sides. By the time he was finished he had worked up quite a bit of a sweat. He assumed a meditative position before dispelling his clones. He felt the drawl of his consciousness as their experiences entered him. As he sat, lotus style, on the ground, he found out over the course of his training with them that the information was absorbed faster with the less information he took in. By meditating he was able to tone down his sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch senses at will. Tonight he shut down all but his hearing, as he wanted to be able to tell if someone was trying to sneak up on him. He was pleased that none of his so-called comrades decided to show up. He wasn't sure what he would have done if they'd have pissed him off again. As the information came to an end he dropped out of his trance-like state and made his way back to the house. He was only a little tired, but he'd done enough today. Upon entering the house he borrowed the dining room table for a moment to seal away his gear before slipping it into his pants pocket. He wanted to keep all of his gear on him at all times on this mission since he didn't trust any of his companions with his possessions, especially the Uchiha, his bitch and the mutt. Walking quietly into the room he was assigned to, he found his previously arranged sleeping bag and futon were now shoved off to a corner and looked as though it had gone through a blender. Sighing he turned around and left. It seemed that his supposed comrades didn't know when to quit. It was nothing he hadn't dealt with before though, so he simply made his way outside and found a nice thick tree branch to relax in. At least it wasn't raining tonight and the breeze felt nice. All in all it was a better environment to sleep in anyway rather than next to two potentially hostile people. He found a nice crook in an old tree and leaned back in it, falling asleep with a great view of the moon through the branches. The next morning the residents of the house were surprised when no one knew where Naruto was. Only 3 seemed to be remotely worried about him though. Kakashi, because the boy was technically under his charge since he was the highest ranking ninja on the mission. Then there were Tazuna and Tsunami, simply because the boy seemed to be able to relate to their plight somewhat. It wasn't until halfway through breakfast that the door opened revealing a slightly disheveled Naruto, causing Sasu and Kiba to smirk. "Naruto, where were you?" Kakashi stated, a bit angry that the boy had left the house and not said anything. "Training," was his only reply before joining them at the table and grabbing some breakfast. "Have a nice sleep, Dobi." Sasu couldn't help but chuckle at the thought of the boy being forced to sleep anywhere but in a comfortable futon or sleeping bag like the rest of them. "Yes, it was very relaxing." The sincerity in his voice was enough to wipe the smirk of the Uchiha's face. Sleeping anywhere but in a nice futon like the rest of us must have been uncomfortable at least. And what makes you think I slept anywhere but in the bed I prepared when we got here? His own smirk made Kakashi suspicious and he turned to the other two boys, waiting for their answer. Kiba was about to answer but got stopped due to a courteous elbow from Sasu. I think I would like to know why as well. Kakashi glared at the two boys along with Tazuna and Tsunami, though at least theirs had no key behind them. Don't bother Hitake. It doesn't matter. I'm used to such things. He began to turn and walk out the door, but stopped when Kakashi addressed him, and then everyone. Naruto, wait a moment please. I've made plans for all of us to begin a training schedule. You will all be required to practice until I say otherwise or the mission is finished. Now unfortunately our unexpected guests yesterday are alive and well. But Kakashi-sensei, I thought that Hunter Nin killed him. Typical. Thinking everything you see is what it looks like. Naruto ignored the glare Sakura sent him. Naruto is on the right track, you must always look underneath the underneath. I'm guessing he knows more about this too. Before Naruto could answer, it was Sasu to put in his 2 cents. HMPH, so now we have to fight that Hunter Nin and there's a chance that Zabuza isn't dead. Wow, so there is a brain in there under all that ego. Naruto replied with an expression of mock surprise before chaining to a deadpan look. From what I said, and Kakashi's affirmation, that would be the assumption of anyone with half a brain cell. Heck, I bet the Fleabag could have gotten to that conclusion eventually. Kiba didn't seem to hear as he was too busy munching on a piece of bacon. But yes, Zabuza is still alive. Although he will be in recovery for a while. The Hunter Nin used Senbon for a reason. Normally a difficult weapon to use effectively, once mastered it is mainly used to disable rather than kill. Though killing is possible, it is also very possible to put someone into a death-like state. When we were talking to the Hunter Nin after it was insinuated that Zabuza was not dead and that the hunter was not really one. The reaction as you saw was for him to make a hasty retreat. Okay, so then why are we training? Only Kakashi-sensei was able to take on Zabuza, and the Hunter Nin looked and sounded about our age. If that is true then we should be fine the way we are, right? Naruto was regretting accepting this mission. It was quickly grinding on his nerves at how little they could comprehend of the real world outside the academy, let alone outside the village. Sakura, if you have an 80% chance to beat someone in a fight today, or an 81% chance tomorrow, which would you pick if defeat meant death? Well, tomorrow obviously. I don't know what a dead last like you would have as far as ambitions, but I don't plan on dying anytime soon. Okay. Well, we didn't need the last part, but the first part proves the point. If training every day until those two decide to attack gives us even 0.5% better chance of beating them, then wouldn't you say it is worth it? At her realizing nod, he gave himself a small pat on the back. This isn't the D or C rank missions that the Hokage gave you anymore. Once the Demon Brothers came into play it became a high C low B rank. With Zabuza in the mix it's now a high B to mid A rank. Add in the Hunter Nin whose abilities we know nothing about and the fact that more ninja have shown up over time, meaning a possibility of more enemies in the future. We are currently stuck on a mid to high A rank mission with no backup able to assist us. We need every bit of help we can get, so if that means I have to personally put 200-pound weights on all of you, I will do it. He narrowed his eyes at them, daring them to tell him otherwise. Sakura and Kiba both swallowed audibly while Sasuke just glared at the insinuation that Naruto would think about forcing him to do anything. Well, now that that's out of the way, excellent explanation by the way, Naruto. Seeing a nod of thanks from the boy, Kakashi continued. So if you'll all follow me, we'll get to the training. He got up and, with the aid of a crutch, made his way outside followed by a small congregation of curious genin. Before they disappeared into the forest, Naruto, who was bringing up the rear, as he really didn't want to go along, created a few cage bunshin to watch over the house. Never hurts to be safe, good thinking Naruto. Kakashi seemed to be gaining more and more respect for the blonde with each action he made and every time he opened his mouth. This was nothing like the reports he saw from the boys' school days. They soon arrived at a small clearing with a few large trees. Stopping in the center, Kakashi turned to his charges. "Okay, today we are going to climb trees." Naruto chuckled when Kiba started climbing the closest tree to him. It obviously wasn't going well since the tree was so large around that it would cause a grown man to struggle with wrapping his arms a third of the way around. "No, Kiba, we are going to climb trees without using our hands." A resounding crash was heard as the surprised Kiba fell backwards off the tree. It couldn't have hurt much since he was only a couple feet up, but he still managed to land on his head. "Sensei, how are we supposed to climb without using our hands?" Once again the brain sees it at face value. While he thought he had said it quiet enough, it apparently was still heard by the bubblegum princess as she turned, ready to yell at him. Once again Naruto is correct. You will climb them by manipulating chakra through your feet. This exercise will help you with chakra control and capacity making a ram seal. Kakashi began walking, limping up a nearby tree to demonstrate. Getting to the first branch, he tossed kunai in front of each of them before turning around and heading back down. So that's it. Use the kunai to mark your progress and try to beat your previous attempt each time. You may want to get a running start at first to build up momentum. Sasu and Kiba wasted no time getting to their practice as they rushed towards the trees. Sakura on the other hand followed her sensei to the T, walking up to the tree before placing a foot. A thud was heard as Kiba once again found himself on his back. Shortly afterwards Sasuke was doing a backflip off the tree once he put a little too much chakra into a step. Both boys glared at their targets before making another attempt. Sakura on the other hand was already at the first branch and taking a little break. She called out to Sasuke once to show off her own skill, but only earned a glare in return when said boy saw that she had done better at something than him. Good job, Sakura. Since you got this down already, I guess that means you're on guard duty for today. Kakashi was proud that at least one of them got it, but that was short-lived. Nee, Kakashi-sensei. She should keep it. Kakashi turned to the blonde that he completely forgot about and his eyebrow rose. And why do you suggest that, Naruto? As you said, this exercise builds both control and capacity. She was able to control her chakra well enough to get to the first branch on the first try, but she had to take a break after she got there. That points to a lack of capacity. She should keep climbing to build her reserves up. Kakashi had to admit he was right. Sakura, never mind, continue the tree climbing exercise. If you start feeling weak though, take a break. Sakura just nodded and went back to the tree while Kakashi turned back to Naruto. Now tell me, why aren't you climbing a tree as well? Is your memory that bad? Take. Seeing the look on the Jonin's face spoke worlds. Yeah. What was I doing when I first showed up? And there goes the light bulb, dim, but technically on. Yep, I was water walking. Get any of those three to try it and they'll sink like rocks. Now think about how wide that waterway is and how long I stayed standing on it. You see, I don't need to do this exercise for control or capacity. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a bridge to guard. Just one more thing. How did you beat Kafu? The question had been bugging Kakashi the more he thought about. He gathered that Naruto had surprised the Jonin, but exactly how a Jonin could surprise a missing nin of Jonin level just didn't stick well with him. When he was close enough, I put an explosive note on a branch as I crouched to jump to the next one. When I landed, I stopped and turned. Like a moth to a flame, the overconfident man stopped on my trapped branch to tell me off, and like an overconfident man, he never realized what was happening until it was too late. I had intended to just weaken him a little to make it a more even fight, but I guess he was so caught off guard that he slipped off the branch and fell all the way to the forest floor, breaking more than a few bones, I'm sure. After that it was just a matter of the final stroke. Luck. It was mostly luck. But still this kid was smart enough to not panic, and instead try to make a situation where his chances increased. You know Kifu is a missing nin with a bounty. If you had Ku. It's sealed in a scroll in my left pants pocket. Not only had Naruto killed, but he also did his research it seemed. You've seen the bingo book? Sealed in a scroll in my right pants pocket. I figure if I'm leaving the village I better know who else is out here and what they're capable of. If I find myself facing one I will know whether to fight or flee then. Yeah, definitely did his research. This kid was good, far too good to be a genin. Kakashi began to wonder if the Hokage had already known Naruto's strength when he'd assigned the teams. This kid was easily better than his entire genin squad. Sure, he had Sakura for the brains, Sasu for muscle and Kiba for tracking, but Naruto seemed like the full package. Kakashi knew Chunin that couldn't or wouldn't risk what he did. He began to wonder if they were going to have another Uchiha Itchy on their hands. Unfortunately he wouldn't get his answer today. As much as I would like to sit and chat, I think we have a client that wants to get to work. I'll speak to you later if we have time. Naruto jumped off towards the house before Kakashi could say anything more. Hey, looks like the training is too tough for the Dobe. I knew he couldn't cut it as a ninja. Kakashi just sighed and shook his head as the comments about Naruto started to fly. He would do nothing to stop them, of course. Not out of hatred for Naruto. No, after learning some of what the boy could do he was beginning to regret taking on the Uchiha, a bit oh be damned. His 3 students were more of a headache than he could deal with. Now if he had 3 genin of Naruto's quality they would be doing nothing but C ranks and low B ranks, which would at least let him do more than babysit. So much for the once mighty Anbu captain. Naruto met up with Tazuna as he was about to head out. The man seemed relieved when Naruto told him about what transpired at the clearing. Apparently Sakura had not made a good first impression on the man. On their walk to the bridge they had a great time telling jokes at the other genin's expense. Naruto learned even more fuel for himself as Tazuna went over the fight with the demon brothers. Apparently Kiba had been scared stiff, as was Sakura. Sasuke showboated too much and Kakashi had to rejoin the fight at the end to save everyone. Not one to receive without giving. Naruto talked about the academy days and how the Uchiha was treated like a god wherever he walked while Sakura scampered faithfully behind him. Kiba was nothing more than an overgrown dog that thought every woman was his for the taking. Tazuna had his chance to laugh at Naruto's recounting of the encounter in front of Ichiraku's, though he was a bit angry that the boy would treat a girl like that. He had already caught him looking at his daughter in a way that made him uncomfortable. When he told Naruto that, he was relieved when the blonde said he'd make sure nothing happened. Upon arriving at the bridge Tazuna was approached by one of his workers. Apparently the man no longer was willing to put his life on the line for their future. He was dismissed and told not to come back as Tazuna seemed to age a little more. It's getting harder and harder, Naruto. It seems 1 or 2 people quit every day. Pretty soon there will be no one left. As much as I want to finish this bridge and give my family a better life, it slows down little bit by little bit. Even if they all quit though it won't matter to me. I will finish this bridge with my own 2 hands if needs be. Well, I don't know much about building bridges, but I am a little handy with tools. Not to mention I can do the work of many people. Just tell me what needs done and I'll make sure it happens. Tazuna looked at the boy for a minute, seemingly measuring him up. Well, I don't know how you're going to cover for multiple workers, but if you're willing, who am I to turn you away? Tell you what, you show me how you're going to do this and I'll give the work out till you can't handle anymore. The words had barely slipped out of his mouth before the whole end of the bridge was covered with Naruto's, who all at once said, "Where do you want us?" Shaking out of his staring, Tazuna reminded himself that these were ninja, and for as much as he knew about ninja anything was possible. Oh okay then we'll start here. It took Tazuna over half an hour to find jobs for all the clones, but he stuck to his word, and by the time he got to the last one there, the bridge was covered in copies of the same ninja, with more copies running errands in town. He had gotten a bit inventive when he learned that Naruto could climb on the sides of things, and even upside down. He had the boy checking for faults in places normal men couldn't even consider looking. Each went wandering happily off with some spackle in a bucket to patch up any flaws they might find on the sides and even the underside of the bridge. Turning to the last one, he was trying to think of something else he might be able to have done when the boy turned to him. "Don't worry about finding me something, I already have a job. Since I'm the original, I will be guarding you." Tazuna nodded in acceptance and started his rounds to check on his workers. The men seemed a bit more at ease with so many bodies around. The fact that it was all the same person didn't seem to affect them at all, as such a large grouping of ninja, no matter what rank, would be a deterrent for an attack. It would prove to be one of the most productive days he had seen in his life. Not to mention the bridge would be one of the best both on top and underneath. He was now debating hiring ninja for future bridge building just so he would have workers that could check the structural integrity of the entire bridge without the aid of pulley systems or barges. Little did the man know, but the boy beside him was actually still training too. Not just with the clones under the bridge either. No, Naruto had upped his resistance seals by a large amount. Just because he was heads over his peers did not mean he was going to relax. Years living on the street was more than enough time for him to find out that you may live through one beating just to get a worse one tomorrow, and he had had enough beatings in his life to not want any more. Even walking right now would be draining. It may seem odd to those that watched him that he walked with an even pace and was working up a sweat, or that he moved his arms more than needed, but it was necessary to get the full effect of the workout. Even after Tazuna was finished with his rounds, the boy didn't stop moving. While Tazuna oversaw his workers from a point near the current construction area, Naruto stood nearby and practiced with his katana and ninjutsu. Every now and then he would see the old man look over and follow his katana, admiring its quality. He may have been a bridge builder, but no one in this area lived as long as he did without seeing at least a few blades. He wasn't going to ask the boy about it now though. There was work to be done here and he was the one in charge of it. The day was going smooth and he had more workers than ever. He'd be damned if he was going to waste even a minute of it. Around lunchtime, Tazuna called everyone in to eat. Naruto told him that the clones that would continue through since they didn't need food. Naruto himself brought out a fishing line and caught his own meal, much to the interest of the workers. They had lived here all their lives and had never seen anyone catch fish with such ease. It wouldn't be but a couple minutes before Naruto would hook a fish before dropping the line again. Once he stopped at 4, they were a little disappointed, but everyone went back to their own lunch because they knew that they had a long afternoon of work ahead of them, and with the sudden ambition their boss showed, they knew he was going to push them every second of it. The afternoon went much like the morning, save for Naruto having to dispel some of his clones, due to jobs being finished and thus not needing their help anymore. The newest part of the bridge would need to be finished before any more spot checks could be made underneath, and there were no more errands for the day. Naruto was still training with his blades when Tazuna called it a day. The workers all went home while Tazuna, with a huge smile on his face, waited with Naruto until the last of his clones had found a place to stop what it was doing. They soon found themselves back at the house looking at an exhausted Sakura with her head down on the table, and Kakashi reading his little orange book while Tsunami was working in the kitchen. "Where is the king and the court jester?" Sakura would have screeched at him if she had the energy to, but she settled for glaring at him, which looked more like she was falling asleep than anything to be worried about to the two new arrivals. They decided to keep at it. They were both about 20 feet off the ground by the time we left. Sakura pushed herself a little too hard and got a slight case of chakra exhaustion. "I see. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to borrow your bath, Tazuna. I think I smell pretty ripe about now from all the training I did. Tazuna just nodded while Kakashi raised an eyebrow as Naruto disappeared into the bathroom. What training did he do? Kakashi asked Tazuna as the mon sat down heavily at the table. What didn't he do? Those clones of his are amazing. Versatile too. He covered every job I'd lost a worker for, and I actually had to create some others just so all the clones he made wouldn't go to waste. Some clones don't affect the main body physically though. What did the real Naruto do? He walked around with me, and when I wasn't walking he was practicing with those two blades of his. Which I must say, that katana looks to be one very nice piece of work. I wonder where he got it. He got it off a ninja he defeated. Kakashi threw a side glance at Sakura to let Tazuna know that he didn't want to say much more about it in front of the girl. Receiving a nod of understanding from the man, he continued. All I know is that the sword is very powerful in its own right if handled properly. If he's already training with it, then he has a high probability of being able to use at least some of its potential. Sakura, finally gaining some strength back, turned towards her sensei. He should give it to Sasu-kun then. If it's so powerful, then only Sasu-kun is worthy of having it if it's going to be used by anyone. Kakashi couldn't help but feel ashamed at his student, but didn't have time to reprimand her as the door swung open and the two other teammates stumbled in, looking like they had just been through a war. Ah, training went well then, I assume? HN. On. The two boys slumped on the table and took up the same position as Sakura, hoping to see food in front of them before too long. At about the same time, Tsunami, Naruto and Inari all entered the room. The later two took their seats while Tsunami set out the food. Dad, we're going to need more groceries for tomorrow night. Could you stop in town and pick some up? Tazuna sighed before nodding. Hi. We'll send Sakura with you just in case. Kakashi really just wanted to be away from the girl for a while. After she had collapsed during tree climbing from exhaustion, which he had warned her not to push herself into, he had to carry her back to the house and listen to her grumbling and whining about not being able to see her Sasu-kun. It was grating on his nerves how much she worshipped the boy. For now though, they would eat. They only made it a few minutes into dinner before Inari decided that people weren't pitying him enough and started his little outburst. Why do you try so hard? You'll just die like all the rest. Gato is too strong. HN, don't lump me in with your loser villagers. I am an Uchiha. I don't die. I will take down anyone who stands against me. Yeah. Sasu-kun can take on anyone. This Gato guy doesn't stand a chance with him around. Me and Akamaru will plow down anyone to complete our mission. Isn't that right, boy? Arf. Kakashi and Naruto just sat there and continued to eat. At least they did until they were dragged into the conversation. See, even your sensei and teammate know better than to come up with hopeless ideas. They're the only smart ones here. Naruto just shook his head. The kid just didn't know when to shut his mouth. While I'll agree with you that I am smart, I have to say you don't know anything about us. Sasuke, while he is an arrogant prick, does have a few decent moves. Kiba with his clan jutsu would be more than enough to take on a few thugs. Sakura ... well, she has good chakra control. Not sure what she can do in a fight, but maybe she just hasn't found her niche yet. Sure, they have Zabuza and that masked nin, but we have Kakashi here who is world-renowned for his abilities as a ninja. He'll be taking on Zabuza while the rest of us take on the masked nin. 4-on-1 seems like good odds to me. After that, all we need to do is find Gato and clean up the mess. You are just too soft. You praise your comrade's abilities and walk around all smiles, but you've probably never had a hard day in your life. Kakashi visibly cringed at Inari's words. As Naruto glared at the boy. If you want pity from someone for your so-called hard life, don't even think of coming to me. You don't know the meaning of the words that come out of your mouth. The boy had enough sense to back away from the glare, But Naruto's words just made him angrier. I don't know a hard life. I don't know a hard life. I've watched as our villagers have been beaten or killed. I've seen the way people are forced to steal just to survive. I've gone hungry many nights because the grocers in town don't have enough food to supply everyone. I think I know a hard life. Inari screamed as the tears started to come forth. No kid, you've had some hard days, but you are far from a hard life. You have family, people who are there for you. You have a roof over your head and a bed to sleep in. You have seen people beaten or killed, sure, but you don't look like you've taken a beating in your life, and I doubt you've ever come close to dying. Have you ever wandered the streets, picking through trash to find your next meal? Have you ever slept in an alleyway in the rain because there was nowhere else? The villagers that you see so much of, do they glare at you like you are the bane of their existence? No, huh? I thought not. No, you don't know the meaning of a hard life. The group watched as Inari teared up and ran out of the room. Naruto just grunted and turned back to his meal. Naruto, was that really necessary? He's just a little kid, you didn't need to say such things. Besides, what kind of person would even stand to live like that? Stop making up stories to scare children. Sakura, now the target of Naruto's glare, shrunk back from him. Haruno, don't even think for 1 second that you know me or my life. Appetite now gone, Naruto stood and walked across the room. Stopping at the door, he turned to one of the few reasonable people still present. Take, I'm going to train. I'll see you in the morning. Hi. The man watched as the door closed.